Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to another great episode of Dive In with Captain Sean. Look, what's going on here? The timer's going crazy. Let me figure out what's happening there. The some minor technical difficulties. Anyway, we get it under control. What is happening to my sound? There you go. All right, now we're good to go. Anyway, welcome to another episode of Dive In with Captain Sean, where we talk about all things from different itineraries around the world to new constructions of vessels to all things nautical and yachting and some fun stuff as well. Anyway, today we're really special. We got a special guest. We've got Bill O'Leary, who is the um, author of the among other things. Let me just pull up the slide for a second. Sorry, this is StreamYard is not behaving well today. Let me get this up. There we go. All right. Anyway, today we're going to talk about cruising in Thailand and a little bit of Myanmar, which used to be Burma. And we're going to go from Phuket. We're going to focus primarily on Phuket and on the west coast of Thailand. And my special guest today is Bill O'Leary. Bill O'Leary is the author of the Andaman Sea Pilot. He's the founder of the Galileo Professional Training Center, which is, for those of you in Fort Lauderdale, you're familiar with MPT. Well, Galileo is the Asian equivalent of MPT. Billo has been cruising Thailand since the 80s. And let's just bring him on right now. So, Billo. G'day, Billo. So, what do you got?
G'day, Shawnee. Yeah, thank you, mate. How are you? So,
Good,
up, everyone.
So, Billo, so tell us before we jump right in, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an Australian. I was born in 1961 in Queensland, out Western Queensland. With
we don't think we have to go back that far, but
right. Well, just give you an idea of how old I am. I'm 62 years old. I've been out in Thailand since 1987. I'm a professional mariner from Australia. I grew up doing the same things Sean did there around Cape Cod. I was a ferry driver for Hamilton Island and Hayman Island and all the Whitsunday Islands out to the Great Barrier Reef and to and from the islands there. And I got a job to deliver a sailing boat from Hamilton Island to Phuket. It was the sailing boat in the movie Dead Calm with Nicole Kidman and Sam Neill and Billy Zane. It was kind of a horror movie. And I had the pleasure of delivering that boat from Hamilton Island to Phuket. And I fell in love with Phuket and stayed here ever since. And I've become a Thai citizen. And I've been writing this Southeast Asia pilot, which is now in its, I'm writing the 7th edition. But it started off as Sail Thailand back in the late 80s, early 90s. And then it went to the Andaman Sea Pilot, 4 or 5 editions of that with Grenville Fordham as the editor and the producer. And now it's 7th edition as the Southeast Asia Pilot. So
And,
I ran aground on it. This storm bogle drew 3 meters, so I was always running on mud banks, and the Admiralty charts were always not showing where they were. So I do a witch's hat, and we'd share the information amongst mariners, and that's how we started to do the
now,
mud banks.
isn't also one of your claim to fame that didn't you introduce Tom Cruise to Nicole Kidman?
Oh, well, kind of, yes. In a fashion, he had a bit of an obsession with her after the movie Dead Calm, and he knew I was on the production for that, so he was asking lots of questions about her. But he was with Mimi Rogers at that time, back in those days, and we took him out on a 7-day charter with.
And you almost drowned Tom Cruise.
I do have a very good Tom Cruise story, but it's probably too long and might get me into trouble if I told it. So
next time. So anyway, so Billo and I actually met. We met in Thailand when I was there in 2004 on a boat called Taipan, and Billo introduced me to Anil Thadani, who is the owner of Latitude, which is this vessel right here. That's a picture that we took in the Solomon Islands. And that is, we normally have a featured boat that we have in mind when we're talking about this itinerary. And what I did is build the itinerary around Latitude. Now, Billo's very familiar with Latitude. He was on board with me twice to the Northwest Passage, and then also 2 end in Thailand. So that's kind of what we're talking about is cruising Thailand in a 50-meter vessel with about an 8.5-foot draft, which is a pretty good boat for cruising in Thailand. And a little bit about Anil Thadani. Anil Thadani, that's a picture that I took of him on top of a volcano in Iceland. I had some amazing adventures. We had some great movies that we did. You can watch The Highest Latitude, which is here on YouTube if you put in The Highest Latitude on YouTube. Great individual, amazing conservationist, and as winner of a couple of Boat International Awards. This is us here at the Boat International Awards with his wife Coney, and of course holding up the Silver Neptune. Anyway, we're going to get right into the itinerary. Like I said earlier, we're going to be focusing on Phuket and the west coast of Thailand and a little bit up into Burma. And we're going to start in where I think is a logical place to start, which is Phuket Yacht Haven. And this is where Billo and I actually first met at up in Phuket Yacht Haven. And that, Billo, why don't you tell us a little bit about how that marina started and where it is and why that's a good marina to kind of base out of and start your Thailand excursion?
Sure. It's right up on the north end there in the Pak Pra Channel. It was basically a Thai family bought it off a company that I was involved in with Anil and Adrian Zeka. We had a company there called Phuket Yacht Services, and we found that by going around the island in a longtail back in the 80s with a piece of string and a dive weight to find out where the deepest water was close to shore that wasn't down in our Geelong, which is the biggest natural sort of harbour for the island. But there was so much crime down there at that time. There was a lot of drug problems. So to keep the boats for the Amanpuri safe, we were looking at anywhere else on the island that had a road to it and that we could get deep water close to shore. And this is how Yacht Haven started. That the Thai family, the Pratara Prasit family, bought it from us and built the Yacht Haven, which is pretty much the only sort of multi-yacht, super yacht marina in Phuket. You can see we've got about, I think it's nearly like 600-700 meters of alongside berthage there for super yachts. So it's about a 220 berth marina, and it is basically the number one marina in Southeast Asia. It's not my favorite because it's a little bit far away from Phuket town, but it's definitely for super yachts. It's the long-term favorite for the long-term stays. There's only really one other marina that can take super yachts, and that's at Alpo, which we'll talk about later as well. But it's a great marina. So
starting from Phuket Yacht Haven, we're going to then go up into, now these chartlets that you're seeing right here, these are directly from the Southeast Asia pilot. Yeah. And they really give, hold the book up.
Shameless promotion.
shameless promotional bit right there.
Yeah, there's
Anyway,
an interactive ebook as well that you can get into.
yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But what I really like, and for charter brokers out there, is yeah, it's geared towards obviously captains and mariners, but there's such great information, and there's great information in there about provisioning and all sorts of stuff. But anyway, back to the kind of the meat of what we're talking about, which is the itinerary. It has great, really accurate depths, really accurate chartlets. And before there were electronic chart plotters, which when Billo and I were kind of cruising around through there, these were the best charts. We had the Admiralty charts, but they were not accurate. And we'll talk a little bit about how inaccurate it was when the first time I took a boat up to a place called Pagny, which is one of my favorite places to go for, especially with guests. Now, the first stop here is Koh Phangan. So Billy, you were telling me that you were one of the first persons to explore this as a tourist.
Well, yeah, when I got there on Stormvogel, I remember looking at the chart, the Admiralty chart, and seeing all of these contours on top of each other, thinking, gee whiz, these things must come straight out of the water. And I turned up into the bay, and really you could see it from 5 miles away. Fantastic sort of limestone casts coming straight out of the water. So I went up to Phangan is the first one that's riddled with limestone caves. So I paddled around the island on my surfboard, or actually the windsurfer surfboard, and I went into a couple of these caves that have since then become very, very famous for the sea cave canoe companies. And as far as I know, I'm the first foreigner to ever been in those caves before they became commercialized.
Now, there's tons of monkeys up there.
Lots of macaque monkeys, the crab-eating macaques, and a bunch of monitor lizards, and tremendous amount of bird life, and incredible wildlife. Even otters. There's big sea otters up there as well.
Now, I heard that during the pandemic is there's a village in Thailand. I forget which off the top of my head, but tourists, it's overrun with these monkeys, and that part of the things that you can do there is you can actually give monkeys cigarettes, and they have their own lighters and they're smoking. But during the pandemic, there were no tourists, so these monkeys went crazy trying to break into stores and were stealing cigarettes and everything. So I'm curious. We're
you slipped that one in on me.
I know you were smoking back there in the 80s. Did you offer a monkey a cigarette while you were?
Sure, you've got to share it around if you've got it. You know that, Sean. He looks like he might be having a little bit of marijuana's recently become legal in Thailand, and they let all of the guys that went into jail, they let them out because marijuana had become legal, and then they replaced the marijuana that they'd been caught with. And some of the guys said, "Hey, this is all moldy," so they replaced their moldy dope with the good dope. So,
well, there you go. Other fascinating insights from Billo, our resident guy there in Thailand.
Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. So into Phang Bay. Anyway, there's some people that are kayaking up there, but again, it's the first time I saw that definitely one of the more spectacular parts of Thailand. Now, one of the more famous hongs there is, of course, James Bond Island. Now, that the chart is the little chartlet on this particular program decided to put James Bond Island not where it is. If you look really close, you'll see a 7. It's just south of that. And James Bond Island, of course. Well, let's see what been really fortunate. I was thinking about this the other day. It's I've been to most of the places where they film Bond movies, and James Bond Island and anchoring up there is pretty cool. Do you have any interesting insights into James Bond Island?
Oh yeah, it's really beautiful. That little Koh Phangan, which means nail in Thai, is that one there you can see in the picture. It's the one where the missile came out of it, and the man with the golden gun, and was about to wreak havoc on the earth, and of course Sean Connery came in and saved the day. But yeah,
that was Roger Moore.
Roger Moore, that's right. I'm sorry, I just love Sean Connery more. Roger Moore, that's right. Yes. and the little guy, that little tattoo guy out of Fantasy Island.
Knick-Knack.
Knick-Knack, yeah.
Use
But
Knick-Knack.
yeah, so it's turned into a bit of a free for all now. It's overrun with markets and trinkets you can buy there for all the tourists. It's become very touristy, and but it is still beautiful. Amazing geography.
Now, one of the coolest places that I mean, I was there. I was there in the early 2000s, and I got literally that's where we met right after this tsunami. Just I don't want to kind of bring everyone down with that story, but there's some amazing time and just kind of bellow to sing your praises. You are you were out that morning and you read what was happening. You were probably responsible for getting like most of the people off the beaches at most of the hotels in Phuket.
Yeah. Well, very lucky to have known that there was a previous tsunami down in 12th of December 1992 down in eastern Indonesia, just north of Maumere, and there was a little village there called Ruang Kroko, and the inhabitants of that village that we were supposed to be in there with Anil and Adrian when that hit, but I think Anil got sick and we couldn't go, so we went a couple of weeks later, and it was a 26-meter tsunami in there, and the local villagers were saying that all the water receded after the earthquake. So when I got the news from the beach boy that all the water had receded, and my wife had told me in the morning that she'd felt an earthquake, I just put two and two together, and we started ringing around all of the different hotels, because I asked the boy on the beach how far the water had receded, and he said 700 meters. So the swim platform was dry, and it basically like someone had pulled the plug out. So I knew that there was a wave coming. So we stopped the boat and rang up all of the hotel GMs that we knew along the west coast, and got a lot of people to safety before that wave hit. And then we headed out to deep water, and we actually jumped the wave between Koh Yao Yai and Yao Noi, where it hit the peninsula and took all of the coconut trees into the basin in front of us. And we went up there on blowfish, and there was so much sand in the water that it stopped the engines. You could have put a cup overboard and picked it up, it would have been half sand. So there's so much debris in the water.
Yeah, and you wrote, there's a great book, I don't know if it's still available, but Tsunami Stories, is that?
Yeah, Tsunami Stories Thailand, yeah. With
yeah.
18 stories in there. We did that as a charity book for all of the orphans that were at Bill Heineke's hotel up there that he just opened. It had only been opened the week before, the Anantara up in Khao Lak, which, got hit so much heavier than Phuket did.
Well, because of again, I was there on a 65-foot little northern hull Taipan 4, and right after the tsunami, there was nobody that was visiting Thailand, and especially Phuket. And I had free reign to go up and explore. And one of the first places that I found was the Muslim village that's on stilts. It's a big fishing village up there. And it's neat. I've gone all the way. I took Taipan. It's pretty deep all the way up in there. Good anchorage. I bought some big boats. Bought Latitude up there, and I brought some. I think the biggest thing somebody called me up at Apo Marina. They had I forget what it was. Anyway. It was like it was an 80 meter that I managed to get up and anchor just north of there. But anyway, really cool place to visit. There's a little tender dock. You can go in there, so you can take your small boats in there, or go up, and you can get up there with a pretty big boat, anchor, and bring the guests. And it's a winter, and there's a bunch of really cool, well, not a bunch, but like 4 or 5 good restaurants up there.
Well, now it's probably more like 25. And there's even they've even got a soccer field on floating pontoons there. It's pretty amazing.
I remember that.
It's not full size, but and it's very Muslim, and a lot of trinket shops and dried squid and what have you. But a beautiful spot.
Now, Koh Roi is near and dear to my heart. It's just like one of those cool little islands. It's like Bill is smiling. Because
I know why it's dear to your heart.
the it's let's just say it's a very romantic beach. Anyway,
It is actually.
And beautiful spot. Now that little picture you see there, that there's two parts to the beach. There's the main beach, and it's a great place to set up like a beach picnic, or just kind of bring people for the day. And if you go through that cave, it kind of goes into what would you call that? Like a
Well,
rainforest hole,
yeah,
or
in Thai they call it a hong,
yeah,
which means room in Thai, and it's because it's opened up to the sky, but all around it, got all the orchids and palm trees and everything
yeah.
that sort of ordain the sides of the karst mountains, and the sun only gets in there for a few hours a day, but it's really spectacular and beautiful and very tidal. You can see there the tide's out there, but when the tide's up, you can go up there with your tender, small tenders and dinghies and paddle canoes and all that kind of thing. It's really a beautiful, beautiful spot.
I was the night that I was there. I was on a full moon night, and the moon lit up that whole hong, and it was just absolutely spectacular. And then Koh Hong. Speaking of hongs, tell us a little bit about Koh Hong.
Well, Koh Hong, there's two Koh Hongs. There's one up on the northwest side there called Koh Hong in Panga, and this one is Koh Hong in Krabi, which is far more spectacular than the one in Panga. And it's a massive, probably, it'd be a football stadium size, the Hong itself, with a narrow entrance. And it's one of the most beautiful spots in all of Thailand, for sure. It's you can get in there any tide, and it's spectacular again, all sandy. A lot of people go in there for swimming, sort of 365 days a year. You can get in and out of there. And the photo there is actually from the national park side. You can look over, if you look in the middle of that photo, at the back of it is where the big Hong is, and the entrance is around to the south of that. But yeah, beautiful spot, national park. I think it's 100 baht a head, or maybe 200 baht for a foreigner, which is about $8 US or $7 US to get in and out of there. Beautiful spot.
Yeah, I was thinking about that's got on the western side of that is the cliffs where the guys go in and get you can climb those, and they have a little bird nest are in there.
Yeah, they're the swiftlets that make the bird's nest soup and bird's nest drinks. Very, very expensive commodity, and they protect them with guys that have guns to stop people from pilfering those little bird nests.
You'd never have to worry about me making soup out of a bird's nest.
Well, it's their saliva. It's actually bird spit soup, really. But how the Chinese love all that kind of thing, and actually it does taste okay. You can buy them at 7-Eleven. They're 100 baht a little one of those little cappy things.
I'd rather have the mango and sticky rice than the bird spit.
I think they're to make you a little bit more virile, so they're very popular.
Wow. Okay. That's. I can definitely tell that you've been drinking or eating a lot of the bird spit soup.
Maybe back in the day.
So tell us. So Krabi. What's special about Krabi?
Well, Krabi is mainland. It's not the islands. It's the mainland of Thailand and one of the southern provinces, and it has some landlocked or sea-locked peninsulas that you can only get to, from by a boat or out from the rivers there. So you can see where we've marked there. That's where one of the marinas is. Canet has put a marina over there as well. The Boat Lagoon family here, the Yongsekun family is very famous in Phuket. His father was a tin miner and left a lot of land to him that he's developed as the Boat Lagoon and Boat Avenue. And over here in Krabi has another marina there called Boat Lagoon Krabi. And that river and the town is up that river as well, which is an amazing town. And it's like going back to yesteryear. It's probably, like Phuket was 50 years ago, Krabi town. And it's a bit more laid back and backpackery. But those are really fantastic beaches there on Pranang and Ao Nang. And those places are just gorgeous. Same again, big limestone cliffs, lots of monkeys and lots of climbing. People do a lot of climbing around there, professional climbers. And famous. In fact, I think it's one of the world's most famous beaches is Pranang on Krabi, one of the top 10 beaches in the world. Yeah.
So Pee-Pee. Now Pee-Pee is like, I always used to like, Pee-Pee is where the restaurant Sip Sip is, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
Yeah. And then
there's lots of
healthier, and they have
yeah.
healthier monkeys.
Well, we're not supposed to feed them, but of course, they do. The tourists love to feed them, so they they get all kinds of human diseases as well now.
So Pee-Pee is also too is where they filmed The Beach.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah, for the
I was
famous movie with
on
Leonardo
that set as
DiCaprio.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember the first time that I saw Pee-Pee was literally like, that was 10 days after the tsunami, after the wave had just, if you look at the chart, you can see where that little dot is, that wave had ripped right through the middle of it.
Yeah,
So,
it came from both sides.
yeah.
It was from the south and then wrapped around from the north, and basically did some scissor action in the middle there. And yeah, I think there was several hundred that got killed on PP, like 390, I think, people died there,
Oof.
mainly tourists.
But they've rebuilt that. I mean, I like a lot of
Yeah.
like it came back pretty quick.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The Thai spirit is strong.
Yeah. Now Koracha, now that's one of your favorites.
Yeah, King Island. Racha means king in Thai, and it is really a king island. There's two great anchorages there, one facing northwest and the other one sort of facing northeast. And you can get around to the east side of it for protection in the northerlies. So, yeah, there's always somewhere to anchor there. They've done a lot of underwater dive sites there with some sculptures and some sinking some boats and making a lot of fish attracting devices for divers. The clarity there is incredible, and the fishing around there is really some of the best game fishing in the Andaman Sea. Well, it used to be before all the longliners sort of came through and cleaned up a lot of the sailfish. But yeah, beautiful spot, and got a couple of really high class hotels and restaurants now in that main bay.
I'm pretty sure I took Lapo in Aparna with their and their Anil Thadani's daughter, who just actually had a great article in Vogue just come out about her place in Florence and her yoga studio. So, anyways, just pick up this week's Vogue. But I took them there, and then Alberto took them diving. I got stuck on the boat, so I didn't get to go see all the cool stuff. So, unfortunately,
well, next time you're back, I'll take you for a dive out there. It really is pretty
perfect.
good. It's not similar standard, but still very, very good. And it's only 8 miles south of Phuket, so.
And then, so this little island right here, this is the first. I remember this was the first thing I cruised by when I picked up Taipan 4 in Malaysia, and brought it up here. I remember going right by this particular island and thinking to myself, "Ooh, I got to come back here and check it out." So, and oddly enough, I never did. It's one of the few islands like on this itinerary where I haven't been to. It's like, so tell us a little bit about this one.
Well, yeah, it's about, I don't know, 10 or 11 miles directly west of Koh Lanta, which is down there, the mainland island there that you can get across by car ferry. But yeah, so Koh Hayai is basically, this is not the shot for Hayai. That's actually between Koh Yao Yai and Yao Noi, and actually just where we anchored or not anchored, but we waited in Blowfish for the tsunami to hit, and that peninsula there with all the palm trees all of the palm trees got knocked into the water in front of us, and that's where the sand came from that stopped.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, but Hayai is a little bit different geologically. It's like it's all been like a drunken bricklayer has laid the ball together, and it's like 5 islands that are very close together, quite deep water all around them. Only a couple of anchorages there, but the government's put a lot of national park buoys in there, and it's really some spectacular diving, and for all different levels of diving. There's a couple
I think we lost Bill. He froze up.
Chimneys. Have I frozen? How am I? Am I all right? Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Can you hear me? Hello.
Oh, we're back.
Okay. Well, yeah, Koh Hayai is fantastic.
Yeah. And then, And then Rock Knock.
Yeah, Rock Knock. Actually, I've got a great story about Rock Knock. I mean,
Do
we're
tell.
running out of time here, but basically, yeah, between the bringing up Stormvogel sort of 37 years ago in 1987, and coming in there late in the evening, dropping anchor between the two islands. It's absolutely spectacular, and you can get through between the two islands. It's quite deep there. It's 7-8 meters deep, but anchored up there on the East Island, and there was a couple of million sailfish came in, aggregating all with their sails up, all beside each other, like knives, and never seen anything like it. You could have walked on their backs all of the way to the beach, about 200 meters to the beach. I've never seen anything like it. And I spoke to some marine biologists since then, and they said that it was very strange, but that there'd been reports of some of it happening, and they were basically doing a census. So they were working out how many of them there were, and how much they needed to reproduce, and it was one of the most amazing things there. And the smell of all those sailfish, because they're quite thin, they're only about this wide, so they were all beside each other and rubbing up with their sails up, so they're above the water. Yeah, literally, probably not a couple of million, but certainly, several 100,000 by the look of it. Yeah, it was amazing. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
Just with the technology we have today, like drones are such a game changer. Can you imagine having a drone back then? I mean,
yeah. I never even got a shot of it. Actually, it was the sun was wrong and it was already setting, and they were only there for like a few minutes. It all happened in maybe 10 minutes. I couldn't believe it, and one of those things that's such a rare thing. But yeah, Rock Knock, that shows you the diversity of the marine life down there. Fabulous diving, fabulous snorkeling, and on shore there's a beautiful little campground that the national parks run, and there's a little shrine there full of phallic symbols, penises, wooden penises. Must be a few hundred of them there, where the Thais go and when they want to have do a fertility prayer and lay a wooden penis down there. So it's pretty interesting ashore. Highly recommend.
Who doesn't like a good wooden penis in their yard? I mean, it's.
I'm not going to go there, Sean. The internet never forgets.
The internet never forgets. Anyway, so we've been cruising around the islands, and there's normally on the itineraries that I design, and we'll go into a little bit of this. I put attractions, but most of the places that we're going to, I didn't put any restaurants or stuff because normally I think in Thailand, half the fun was going on the beach. And some of the best restaurants that I found in Thailand are literally like a guy with a table on the beach. And especially in Nayang Beach, that one guy that does the pepper prawns. I couldn't tell you where it is. I can just tell you, I know exactly where to go to get it.
Yeah.
And that's what the fun of these little bit of islands. But as far as provisioning goes, and preparing to go out on these trips, you got places like Yacht Haven, and you got places like Apo Grand Marina. And Apo Grand Marina was where we based Latitude out of. And I prefer Yacht Haven as a dock and as a facility over Apo, but Apo, just where it's located, is so much more convenient to all the provisioning and to everything than Yacht Haven is there. And it's a pretty good, and for the larger boats, just if you look on the little chartlet that I put up there, just kind of to the northeast, is that you've got 9 meters of water, so you can get some fairly big boats in there, and it's a great jumping off place. It's actually also relatively close to the airport, which is nice. So Apo would be a good place to start, good place to provision. There's some crazy stories about which I don't know. We're not going to go into about the management. They're all pretty good, but if you, as a Westerner, you can't explain Thailand unless you lived in Thailand, and just how wonderful the Thai people are. And there are some things that you kind of go, what? But there's a great book. Did you ever read Bangkok 8
Yes.
by Jim Burdett? And I think Bangkok 8 is the best perspective on Thailand as a Westerner that I can think of. So, and then look who's in. We got Anil.
Hey, Neil, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Anil. Number 77. So, but anyway, Oppo Grand Marina, a lot of fun, lot of good times out of Oppo. Now, jumping off from Oppo, I put in, I've got Phuket Boat Lagoon, but there's also right next to it is Royal Phuket Marina, and the I don't say the challenge of these two is you can't get what do you think the biggest boat that we could get into Boat Lagoon? Like,
oh yeah, probably 3 meters, 3.5 meters, but only at high tide, probably once a month. It's up a 2 mile, 2.5 mile creek, but once a month on the king tides you can get up there. But you don't want to be having to come out. Look at that! You see Anil there saying latitude's in the Flores Sea right now. Fantastic. Yeah. Enjoy.
I got it's like leaving Boat Lagoon one night. I thought I could make it, and then I had Anil and Coney and a bunch of people on board. Anyway, we didn't make it. We sat there in the mud.
Did you? I've done that a few times.
I had to pull the stupid frickin' tender, and then we got really stuck. And then it was like, yeah, we're not going anywhere. But anyway,
yeah. It's more real estate developments than usable marinas for super yachts, but for smaller boats with shallow draft, it's fine.
There's some good provisioning. I like the little shipyard there, and there's some good provisioning in there too.
And there's Anil saying he just came from Mount Mary yesterday. Yeah, well, that's where there's spectacular scuba diving down there, but we're not on Indonesia.
We'll do Indonesia next time.
Yeah, we have to. We absolutely have to.
So anyway, and I put up this is a picture I actually took off Geelong at about it was just the lighting was amazing, and these fishing boats that were off Geelong. And I only throw in here, I never liked Geelong as a kind of a destination, but it was a great place to go. It's like if you're gonna clear, if you're a sailor, you kind of clear, and it's a good place to clear, and you get customs immigration. But it's also a great place to get fuel, and if you're a large boat, it's Geelong's about it. There's a cruise ship dock in there as well too that you can you can fuel, and you get that shipyard. Ratanachai.
Yeah, just up around the corner off this little chartlet north of there, you've got Al Makam, which is the deep sea port, and a lot of the cruise ships come in there, and also the little river up into the town where Ratanachai shipyard is for sort of smaller boats.
And then
there's a great supermarket in Boat Lagoon. Absolutely.
Yeah, I actually forgot about. There's that really good one. Oh, what's the new village as you come in? I always forget the name, but it's with
Villa Mart.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great supermarket now, right there at Boat Lagoon.
Yeah. So, all right. So now we're gonna go around the bottom of Phuket, and we're gonna be coming up the west coast of Phuket, and then all up into Burma. And our first stop, of course, is Patong. So
Sin City.
So all this stuff you heard about Thailand, it's here in Patong. If you're looking, if you're looking for anything, and you could probably find it in Patong.
You could probably buy a baby tiger in there, I think.
Yeah, just I used to joke, to my crew. I would just give me 45 minutes. I'll come back with a caviar, an AK-47, and a baby zebra. But anyway, all in the same shop.
Yeah, really. Yeah, Junk Ceylon. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a really deep bay. It's actually a great anchorage in there, and there's so much going on. That there's a lot. It's really buzzing. If you've got some young people and as your clients or the crew, that it's a place for R&R for sure. It's that it runs 24/7. There's jet skis everywhere. There's paraflying. There's it's about 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, 2.5 kilometers long. The beach there. It's all tide. There's lots of probably a couple of thousand restaurants in there, and so much going on. You could really spend a week in there and not see everything that's going on.
And what I like about Thailand too is, like, as kind of crazy as it is, it's all in good fun. I've never felt out of sorts or threatened
No,
or
no, no. It's
yeah,
very safe, very
it's
safe. And this is one of the great fallacies that Thailand's not safe. It's very, very safe.
yeah, and I think that's the like the Thai people, I think, are some of the most gracious, lovely people that I've ever met, and will bend over backwards. There's a name for foreigners there. They call us farang, which isn't derogatory. It just kind of means that we're uncultured, is as far as they're concerned. But
Well,
it's
it's like a orangutan.
yeah.
One of the new terms.
But Tong. Now, there's just to kind of go over a couple of things. I think that we need to point this out. There's a few things that you never do in Thailand, and number one on that list is what, Billow? Is you never make fun of the royal family.
Oh yeah, no, they have a very strong le majeste laws here, similar to back in the French back in the 17th century. So yeah, never to say anything negative about the royal family or the king, and that's everyone goes along with that, and it's one of the ways that everyone pays homage to the royal family. So it's a constitutional monarchy in Thailand, so everyone respects the king, and it's been a dynasty for now in nine generations, so it's pretty phenomenal. And the other thing is never hurt a Thai person. That's one of the great rules. You can do what you like and have as much fun as you like, but the minute you hurt a Thai, then you're going to get in serious trouble. So that's one of the great rules, and just be respectful. Don't go to the temples wearing bikinis and stuff like that. The Thais don't like your feet, so you don't point your feet at anybody, and the top of the head is very sacred in Buddhism, so don't rub little kids on their head or touch anybody around their head. But yeah, that's generally it. I mean, they live and let live, and they like to see a party. One of the great, the great festivals here is the Songkran festival.
Songkran's one of my favorite.
13th of April every year. It's fantastic. It's the Thai New Year. It's the water festival, so everyone just gets very, very loose, and it's a great fun time.
I once saw like two kids take a bucket to a cop on the side of the road and dump it over his head, and then yell "Songkran," and the cop was laughing, and it's like it's if you don't want to get wet, leave your cell phone home. Like anything electronic, you are gonna get wet on that day. But it's a
don't go outside if you don't want to get wet.
Get outside if you don't want to get wet on Songkran. A lot of fun. And Neil said that he goes, I am talking to a Thai. I forgot that you're as far as a foreigner, you are a rare entity as a foreigner. You and your son both.
Yeah, we're Thai citizens. The last king gave us that honor to become Thai citizens, so we're very lucky and very honored to have that bestowed upon us.
And Tim actually speaks the King's Thai.
Yes, he reads, writes, and speaks Thai. In fact, his first language was Thai because Carolyn and I were working when he was born, so we only had the Southern Thai maid that was at home, and she never spoke any English, so he learnt to speak Thai from her, and he went on and became the first full foreigner to do his IB in Thai up at the New International School in Bangkok. So yeah, he reads, writes, and speaks Thai.
And how many children do you have?
Four. Four I could show you here, actually. There you go.
Yeah, they're good. And they're
There they
all,
are. Oops.
and then Bronte Bronte just broke. Bronte does a lot of things. She can't dance, obviously.
Yeah. Well, she was at the Taylor Swift concert the other night. She's a lawyer in Los Angeles in mergers and acquisitions for Kirkland and Ellis, and she's been a Taylor Swift fan ever since she was 12-year-old. So she went out dancing and came down, broke her elbow, and hurt her foot. So she's in a sling at the moment. Yeah.
And then your other daughter is an Olympic contender for swimming.
That's right. Yeah, Mia, the 20-year-old in the green here is swims for Australia. And she's 20 years old. She's a sprinter, 50 meters, 100 meters, butterfly freestyle and breaststroke.
And they're all your kids. I love all your kids too. And you're all a musical family. I remember one time we had you on Latitude, and he gave you a bunch of instruments, and it was like hanging out with the Australian Von Trapps.
Yeah, we do. This one's Meg. Meg's here. She's
He just shut his computer off. Anyway, well, some minor technical difficulties where Billo figures out his his computer. Anyway, so it's like, would you have any good what do we got for in the comments here? We can do you have any new stuff? Oh God, we hope we didn't lose Billo. The internet. Anyway, so from Patong we're starting out to the Similan Islands. Now the Similans are just off. You can see on the we're just off Billo's calling me on WhatsApp here. What happened to you? Log back, leave the studio and log back in. All right, we're talking about the Similans here. All right, we'll get and Anil, who knows Billo. So, really quick story about Billo. We're in the Solomon Islands one time, and where there's this fighter plane that's on the bottom of the ocean, and I've got my underwater video camera and I'm videotaping everything. And I said to I said to Billo, well, not underwater, but I handed him the camera. The camera was rolling. And then I took all my dive gear off, and I'm probably like down at about 50, 60 feet, and get in the plane so I can take some video of myself. And so anyway, so Billo thinks it's a camera and turns the camera off. So I put my dive gear back on, come back onto the boat. I'm like, did you get it? And he says, I think I got it. And then I looked at it, and of course, yeah, that's what I was going to say. And Neil's got the same thing. Remember, he never turned the camera underwater when I was sitting in the cockpit of a Japanese Zero. Anyway, so Billo has managed to knock himself off. So he is logging back on. Let me see where he is right now. Did you log back on? Okay, he's working on it. So anyway, we're going to we're going to continue on with the Similan Islands. So the Similans, great diving up there. There's really good anchorages and such and everything. And then, but what we're going to do is I'm going to actually, because I was just typing that story when I started telling it. We're going to jump right on to Richelieu Rock. Now, Richelieu Rock is, if there's any divers in your group, one of the best dives that I've ever been on. And again, I was there with Anil and his family. And Richelieu Rock is it's like this giant pinnacle that comes out, and it stops at about I think there's about 20 feet of it that doesn't quite come out of the water. Anyway, the marine life and the wildlife there is utterly is utterly amazing. It was the first time that I was able to get a whale shark on film. Um, there's a lot of like a lot of different dive boats and dive operations go out there. We were lucky enough to be there where there weren't too many of the dive boats that were in that area, and we wound up diving on that rock. We spent the entire day diving there. As a matter of fact, I think we did another dive in the morning, but really spectacular dive, and a kind of a must see, especially if you've got a boat that does have diving capabilities on board, and Latitude does. Latitude, when we first bought the boat, the idea was to actually take it to Thailand, to take it to more places that were warm and tropical, and subsequently we wound up building what became probably the finest nitrox compressor on any super yacht out there, and I will to this day, it still is, and probably one of the best dive rooms on any of the yachts out there. We have a massive bank capacity. I can fill 8 tanks with nitrox or air. We can adjust to different levels of nitrox. We have rebreathers on board Latitude. We were extraordinarily well equipped. And Billow's back.
I'll take that challenge.
Billow's back. I had to fill in some time. I was talking about Richelieu Rock. So,
great.
but we're going to jump back to the Similans real fast. So, anyway, so tell us about. And we were also talking, and Neil and I were both talking about the time when you turned my camera off when I was in the Japanese Zero in the solid.
Yeah, man, I'm a dinosaur with that technical stuff. But I didn't have my glasses. I didn't have the goggles that I have now that have my glasses in them. So, I was basically, you handed me this thing, and I was like, okay, so how do I start it? And I clicked the off button. Yeah. And I remember it took 5 minutes to get ready, and you're like, yeah. And
I was underwater with no gear on in a plane.
That's right. You'd taken everything off, and it was the most amazing shot, and I was so happy that I got it, of course, but I turned the whole thing off.
Anyway, so the Similan Islands, tell us about that.
The Similans, yes. Well, it's actually a bastardization of the Malay name called the Semblans. It's 9 islands in a row from north to south, and spectacular world-class diving, basically. It's the best diving in Thailand by far, by a country mile, really. There and up at Surin Islands, Richelieu Rock, and Koh Bon as well. So, it's basically, it's not a very good anchorage. It's very steep-sided sort of tops of mountains that were sort of the last ice age. So, yeah, it's difficult. There's deep water all around and a lot of fetch, but you need stabilizers to stay out there long term. What are you smiling at?
I just like you operating cell phones. I mean, you got fingers like sausages, and just one of the first times I met you, you had dropped your cell phone in Boat Lagoon, and you're like, and I was meeting you there to look. We're looking at a boat, and you're like, "You get a dive mask?" And I, yeah, and I go, I dropped my cell phone in the water.
Yeah. These, the big sausages, buddy. Big sausages.
Okay, Koh Sarin.
Yeah, Sarin. Well, that's the last islands before we get up to the Mergui Archipelago, the Burmese Archipelago. It's the last Thai islands, and there's some amazing beaches, awesome scenery, great marine life. And I think the best thing about the Sarin Islands is the Morkan, the boat tribes, the indigenous people there that live in that area. And they're basically, living subsistence living, and tremendous. They just all raft up in boats. They've got little villages in the little bays there. It's almost Burmese, really. It's the last part of Thailand, but it is Burma. Sorry, it is last part of Thailand, but it's very close to Burma.
And then, of course, this is where you clear into Burma right here. This is the really huge tides.
Yeah, it used to be called Victoria Point. It's Khao Thong now. In the shadows, Victoria Point. And all of those islands used to be English names, but they've been changed back to the almost impronounceable Merguian names now for generals and people in their military, and a few of their early explorers and what have you. But yeah,
I got stuck there one night.
Oh, where? In Canton?
I had to stay at the Honey Bear Hotel.
Oh, the famous Honey Bear.
It's the best hotel there, which
I know
ain't saying much, but anyway.
Looks like a municipal hospital. I've stayed there myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have talk about the Wild West. It reminds me of an old Western movie or something like that. It's just so rustic and so ancient.
Oh, it's right out of like the Star Wars, the Mos Eisley spaceport. Never has there been a bigger hive of scum and villainy, and it like.
Well, it's where they got the idea for the Phantom. You remember the Phantom comics back in the day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's all about here. This is where the Phantom came from. This area.
Well, that just makes a world of sense if you've ever been up there. It's just It is a unique experience, especially after dark and being stuck up there. But anyway, that's where you clear in. But from there, you get into some of the prettiest islands I think anywhere in the world. And again, I was up there in the early 2000s when you needed a permit. I mean, it was tough to get up there, and you were up there way earlier before then.
Yeah, and with the Frost brothers were the original guys that pioneered up there, and Jeroen Dectertel and the guys from Fantasy Divers, and used to dive the Burma banks and tie crates of fish pieces down on the bottom of those 10-meter banks out there, just west of Clara Island and all of that. So yeah, that was the Wild West back in those days, and now it's become a little bit more difficult and expensive to get permission to go in there, but it's worth doing because it's totally virgin area, very untouched. And look at that for the shot in there of Clara Island, just beautiful.
Yeah, and so pretty much this is where we're gonna end our Thai itinerary. If you aren't on board a yacht, obviously we wouldn't be offloading passengers here. You'd bring her back into Phuket, and there's a bunch of different places that you can offload other than the marinas, and we'll talk a little bit about that on the attractions page. Now, all the itineraries that I have created for these video series, I like to put in the attractions, and normally in some of the areas that I've talked about, I put in different restaurants and such. But some of the things that I do like to put in are emergency services. Now, medical care in Thailand can be some of the best in the world. There's one particular hospital in Phuket called Bangkok Hospital. If you ever get sick in Phuket, that is where you want to go. I'd say you don't want to go anywhere else. There are other hospitals, but Bangkok Hospital, it looks like you're walking into a lobby of a hotel, and it's the medical care that you'll get there is exceptional. Also, too, dental care in Thailand. Remember the time we were just in the mall and you're like, let's go get our teeth cleaned, and you go up to it's like $20, and my dentist went to Tufts Medical School. I mean, it's just like you can just do that, and it's the healthcare there is really good, and it's short money. The emergency services number in Thailand is 191. I don't know what happens if you dial that, but you'll get a voice in Thai.
Thai.
Yeah, you're kind of a little bit in trouble. And a few other places though in Phuket that I really like, Lamprau Car Rental. You're not going to find, they don't really have a website, but they're based in Yacht Haven. And Mr. Chun, I put his cell phone number in there. If you're at Yacht Haven, need a car rental or need a car service, Mr. Chun he took great care of me in the both times when I've been in Thailand. And he tell him that Captain Sean sent you there. Some of the bigger resorts that are in Thailand that we'd like to give like a plug to is Amanpuri, and that's one of the nicer places. But the Anantara hotels, which are some of the best, is a chain makes them sound cheapen them a little bit. There's a collection of those hotels all throughout Asia and the Maldives, and a couple of the best are in Thailand. how to use this little attraction section on the back here. Again, just click on the link. If you need private aviation, there's this is, again, one of the best in Asia. Probably is started by a gentleman named Bill Heineke, American, who also emigrated to Thailand, became a Thai citizen, and has done a lot for Asia as well. And again, so click on that link. It'll bring you to the aviation page, and that is the premier jet service in Thailand. Great customer service, great hotels, a lot of great information there. Highly recommend them. And then finally, again, thank you again to Worth Avenue Yachts for allowing us to take up an hour of your time and host Dive In with Captain Sean here. We'll be doing other great itineraries and other things that'll happen here on the Worth Avenue channel. And one final thing that I want to talk about is, I've talked about stuff like this on these previous podcasts and such, about different initiatives that I've had, in my philosophy behind yachting and what we do and how it can be important. And Billo is wearing a t-shirt. You can't quite see a t-shirt. There you go. Respect Our Oceans. It's about plastics in the ocean, about overfishing, all these different stuffs that they're aware of. And it's those causes and such are starting to take root in Thailand. I think Thailand's become better at respecting its environment than it has been in years past. Would you agree with that, Billo? Or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's when it becomes an economic decision. I think that's when things really change, especially in Thailand. That they realise that the beaches have got to be kept clean, and the tourists like to come to beaches where there's no rubbish, especially plastic rubbish. So there's a lot of beach cleanup operations here. I know that Anil and Captain Ed and everybody down there on Latitude did a big beach cleanup down at the Komodo Islands last week as well. So I think it's just, if anyone's in this area cruising around, really get your crew together and go and clean up the beaches.
Yeah, one of the things that I always in VREPAC has a great beach cleanup kit. If you email VREPAC, they will be happy to send you one. Comes in a great North Sails bag. North Sails provided all the material. Clean the beaches up. Bring them to recycle stations, and also too make sure, this is one of the philosophies that I've had, is that I've tried to impart to my crew, is that every beach that we go to, we leave a little bit better. And on that note, Billo, is there anything? We got a shout out to Trimarine Spirit and Captain Jesse Sailing Thailand.
Wow, can do, yeah.
It can.
Can die. That means can die.
Billo, before we wrap it up, is there anything finally that you want to say?
No, just to do another shameless plug for the Southeast Asia pilot and the interactive web version of it as well. So if you're coming to this part of the world, please drop in and say good day and give me a call, and I'll set up an itinerary for you, maybe take you guiding and look after all your interests in Thailand. And also, Shawnee, when are we going to see you again?
You never. Well, maybe sooner than later.
Sorry, I dropped that one on you.
Well, you never know. You never know. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe November. That would be great. We'd love to see you in November.
Fantastic. I'll be here. I'll be waiting.
All right.
I'll get some satays for you. A bit of tom yum goong.
Remember the itinerary. If you haven't got it, you can email me at Sean@worthavenueyachts.com, or follow me on Instagram. My handle is Excitement Factory. And if you want to get more of me, watch me on Anchor Watch on the Up and Out channel Tuesday nights at 11. So for all you Below Deck fans out there, you can catch us there. And for Billo, we can anyway, we'll definitely have you back for Indonesia, and just want to say
Thank you.
goodbye to everyone, and then fair winds and good sailing.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for the opportunity, and God bless you all. Thanks. Sawadee ka.
Sawadee Cap.